Assal-mo-alaikum.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My question is, if a lady is unable to conceive, can she adopt a child? And can they give their name to the adopted child if they are unable to find out who is the father of that child?
Sister asked the question that if a lady cannot conceive, can she adopt a child? Can they give the child their name? If they cannot conceive, for them to adopt a child, that means giving fatherly love, motherly love is no problem, but they cannot legally adopt. You cannot legally give your name. Because in Islam, whoever is the father and mother, they remain the same. You cannot give your name. You cannot deceive the child. On the day of judgment, when they'll be resurrected with the name of the father. So you can't give your name. Yes, if he calls you mother, no problem. Calls you mummy, you call him beta, no problem. Call her beti, no problem. But legally the name cannot be bint so-and-so or ibn so-and-so. If you don't know, you don't know. You say you don't know. But you can't give your name. You can give your motherly love, fatherly love. Call them beta, beti, no problem. They can call you mummy, daddy, no problem. But legally, you cannot give your name. And you have to tell the child that, fine, I am not your real mother and father. And there are various reasons for that. Maybe you don't have a child, you adopted a child now. Tomorrow you have a child, then what? High possibility. So then you cannot tell the child. And then suppose you adopted a girl and you have a son. They both are na-mahram. So they can't behave like brother and sister. So then you have to later on. Or maybe when you grow up, for example, you don't have any children. When you die, if that child you adopted, as a boy you adopted, is your son, and if your husband dies, if you have a son, then you get 1/8 the share. If you have no son, you get 1/4. Now you have adopted and your husband dies. Your inheritance share would be 1/4 because you have no children. The moment you legally adopt, your share becomes half of that 1/8. It's injustice to you. Your husband, if he wants to put a share, the Islamic Sharia gives you permission that besides the inheritors, maximum you can will to someone who is not an inheritor is 1/3. So you adopt, don't give your name, and yet if you want to give part of your wealth, whether 1%, 5%, 10%, less than 33% you can give. It's permitted in Islam. So various things are there, hijab level is there, etc. If you adopt a girl, when she grows up, she has to do hijab with your husband. So all these things, therefore, telling is very important that you are not our blood child, but yet we'll treat you like our child. No problem. Hope that answers the question. Any sisters have any questions?
Assal-mo-alaikum.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
If a lady, she is interested in getting married and she wants her spouse to be of the similar profession, keeping the virtue criteria on the top, and second criteria being of the same profession, so as the later on the marriage life is smooth for them because of the profession itself and hectic schedule. If she wants a spouse of the same profession, is it fair on her part to keep that criteria?
Sister asked the question that if a girl or a boy wants to marry and they're looking for a virtuous life partner, but wants the life partner to be of the same profession so that the marriage life is smooth, is it fair or not? And she said doctor, but then she didn't say. If it's doctor, it's very difficult. If husband and wife both are doctor, then very difficult. So you have a misconception that if both are of the same profession, marriage is always smooth. Many a times if you are of the same profession, marriage is not smooth. So it's a misconception, especially being a doctor. If you say both are dais and the profession, then it's very good, mashallah. Because dai is the work of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when I selected a dai, I wanted to be a dai, so mashallah, our profession is the same. So it depends upon which profession they are in. So it is not a general rule that if the profession is same, then life would be smooth. Imagine a boy is an engineer, he wants a girl who is an engineer. How can we have a virtuous engineer lady doing a work of engineering? Yeah, it is difficult. She's going to go in the field. So what you have to realize that sometimes the profession same may be beneficial, sometimes it doesn't make a difference, sometimes it is detrimental. So engineer marrying a girl who is an engineer, then what job should we do outside? But if someone keeps a criteria, if it's going to be beneficial, like a dai says, I want to marry a dai, that's good, alhamdulillah, it's virtue and dai, good, alhamdulillah. But if you add any criteria to virtue, if you can get, it's excellent. But when you add a criteria, you say, I want virtue, but doctor, you are looking more for doctor than virtue. It is to show to people, no, I want virtues. You say, I want to reject. But when beauty is not the criteria, how did you reject by looking at the photograph? You know, many of my people who I know, I want a virtuous girl. When the photo shoot, I don't want to look at it. I don't have a meeting with her. Why? I said, do you have a special stand that you can read by the photograph? You know, how to may Allah be pleased with him? He had that power to read faces. I said, do you have that, power to read faces, So it is basically the person who they're interacting with, they want to convince that person that I'm according to your criteria. So when they look a virtuous person, I want a virtuous wife. When they are meeting someone who's not virtuous, no problem, I want beauty. If they meet a friend who's wealthy, okay, I want wealthy. So it should come from the heart, that's important. And the moment you add, you can add, but see to it that the addition does not lower the value of virtue. That's very important. Any of the sisters have any question?
Assalamu-alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
If wife is bedridden, sick,
If the wife is bedridden,
and not able to fulfill physical requirement of husband, then husband can get second married. Whereas a husband is unwell and not able to fulfill her requirement, then what are the reservation of wife?
Sister asked a very good question, that if a wife is bedridden and cannot fulfill the duty of a wife, cannot have a relationship, it's possible for a husband to get a new wife. But the vice versa. If the husband is bedridden, for a wife to get a new husband is not possible. Why? Very good question. Point number one. If the wife is bedridden, the husband has an option of divorcing her and marrying a new wife, or keeping her and marrying a new wife. Anyone would say that the second option is better. That keeping her, maintaining her, giving her proper justice, proper time. You can't say, okay, now I won't give her time, and marry a new one. In the other case, if the husband is bedridden and cannot fulfill the duty of a husband, cannot have relationship, here the option for the wife is that she continues with him or she divorces. Why? If she does not divorce and she marries someone else and keeps the first husband also, you cannot give a guarantee that he will not get well. Allah will give shifa. Tomorrow if he gets well then, and then if you have a relationship then, problem. So the option is that either you continue with him and sacrifice your needs, or you divorce him, because if you divorce a bedridden man, yet he can get another wife. But if you divorce a bedridden woman, for her to get a new husband is very difficult. So it's protecting the woman. It's better for the woman. For the woman who feels that she cannot continue with the husband who's bedridden and she wants to divorce, she can take nikah fast. If she says, no, I want to sacrifice, I want to get sawab, I'll continue staying with my husband and sacrifice my other needs so that it will be my path to Jannah, alhamdulillah. Or if she says that I cannot take it, I have my own limitations, and she divorces, that's permissible, depending on what extent is the seriousness of the husband. But for the man, he can get a wife, easier for him to get a wife even if he's bedridden than for a bedridden woman to get a husband. Hope that answers the question, sister.
Assal-mo-alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi.
Many divorced women are not getting proposals because of their past life, even if she is practicing Muslim. Please comment.
Sister asked the question that divorced women do not get husband because of a past. Please comment. This is the society, sister. In our society, divorce is like a stigma. Today we know in the Western world divorce is very common, which is wrong. It should not be that common. But to say that divorce should not take place is also wrong, because if you read the seerah of the Sahabas, there were Sahabas and Sahabiyat who were good and virtuous and yet not compatible. Both were virtuous but they were not compatible. They divorced and somebody else married them. It was common. Not as common as the Western world, but it wasn't a stigma. Today, in our culture, it's like a stigma. Oh, divorce. And it's more difficult for a lady who's a divorcee to get a new match rather than a boy who's a divorcee. This is more of the culture, sister. We are saying that even if she is virtuous, she will not get. Again, the criteria is that she may be virtuous, alhamdulillah, in the market because of the culture that is there. But if a virtuous boy is there, and even if he has not got married, and if he sees the divorcee, and he knows she is virtuous, and he knows that the reason for divorce was not because of her, then surely he would not mind getting married to a divorcee. Because our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, except for one wife, all the others, they were either divorcees or they were widows. All. Except for one. All the rest. Means more than 80%. So, it is mashallah the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So at that time, that case wasn't there. But today I know it's a stigma. It's more of the culture rather than to do with the religion. Hope that answers the question.
Assal-mo-alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
It is said if the husband is not happy with the wife goes to the hell. And if at all the angels keep cursing the whole night, the wife and all. But what if it is the vice versa, if the wife is not happy with the husband?
Sister, I think you're misquoting the hadith. The hadith of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that if the wife refuses to share the bed with the husband, if the husband wants, then in the night the angels will keep on cursing her the full night. That's the hadith. That if the wife refuses to have a relationship with the husband when he wants, then the angels will curse. But the question is the vice versa? The same means if the wife wants to have a relationship with the husband and the husband refuses, so will the angels curse or not? There is no such hadith saying that if the husband refuses to have a relationship with the wife, so the angels will curse. So I cannot say this is true. But one thing to be noted is that today science tells us that a man is more sexual as compared to the woman. A man is more hypersexual as compared to the woman. That is the reason for a man to do the role of multiple husband, marrying more than one wife, and yet doing duty of multiple husband is possible, which is not possible for the woman. So man is more hypersexual as compared to the woman. So in this context, if the hadith says that if a man wants to fulfill his desire, and if the wife doesn't agree, then the angels will curse. And I do agree with the hadith, because if the husband is there, and if he cannot fulfill his need with the wife, then who will he go to? And for a man, he is more hypersexual, and for him to control is more difficult as compared to a woman. Similarly, in the vice versa case, that if a wife wants to have a relationship with the husband and the husband refuses, there is no hadith saying that the angels will curse. But the other hadith, that the best woman is he who is the best to his family, including his wife, proves that he is not good to his wife. Furthermore, there is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ who said that when you spend time with your wife and have a relationship, even that is charity. Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, what do you mean? That when we have a relationship with our wife, it's charity? The Prophet said that because you are not doing something which is haram. To have relationship with someone who is not your wife, to someone who is outside the marital bond is haram. So because they are not doing haram, even that is charity. So imagine, to get sawab is so easy. Having a sexual relationship with your wife earns sawab for both of them. In the outside world, sex is seen in two ways. One is, to one extreme, free sex, everything, no problem. Anyone, Tom, Dick and Harry, no problem. Free sex, Rajneesh, you go to all these beaches, free. On the other extreme, if you are religious, no sex, monasticism. Nuns, sadhus go to Himalaya, it's not possible. Islam is a religion that's of moderation. It caters to the body as well as to the soul. So that is the reason a prophet said that even having sexual relationship with your spouse is charity. Imagine, even a poor man can do charity.